Feed your body with CBD products through Heavy Metal Hemp, now offering award-winning, non-detectable CBD products by Green Roads, producers of the highest quality, pharmacist-formulated CBD products on the market. The same award-winning CBD products found in health food stores, doctor's offices, juice and smoothie bars, wellness centers, and many other retail locations across America. Heavy Metal Hemp, now through September, is offering Skullsessions radio listeners $5 off each 1-pound bag of CBD coffee. All band members receive $15 off each 500 milligram CBD-infused muscle and joint heat relief bottles purchased through September. Feed your body with these and other quality CBD and other hemp products at Heavy Metal Hemp, where you will also find Shockwave's Skullsessions podcasts, music and hemp-related news, and where you can watch for music releases with reviews and more. Heavy Metal Hemp, where you can feed your body and mind. Just click on the Heavy Metal Hemp link on Shockwaves.Skullsessions.com.
You are about to enter the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast on ShockwaveSkullSessions.com. And now your host, Bob Nalbandian.
Shockwave Skull Sessions. What is it, number 33?
Number 33, yes.
Wow. Number 33.
We're a third of the way there to 100, so just about, right? So,
yeah, you know the funny thing is I've been doing the Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast for how many years now? Since 2004, and I think I'm only up to number 88 on that one.
Oh, damn. All right.
We're catching up.
We got a good pace we're going on here, yeah.
The last few months.
7 months or so, yeah. Hell yeah, nice.
There you go. Speaking of the Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast, many of you know I posted a great interview with the legendary Jon Zazula, a.k.a. Jonny Z, which a lot of people heard, and a lot of people, you know, this is the spoiled generation nowadays, man, with the internet and all the social media. Everything's got to be to their liking and stuff, to their, you know, which I get. I mean, it's convenient if you have a Spreaker account or a Spotify account or iTunes, you want to download it, everything automatic. And of course, the Shockwaves Hard Radio, which has been around for many years, the podcast was only on, back then, I think iTunes was the main
probably
the main
right.
hub.
Yeah, they were the main hub.
So it's only on iTunes and on directly off the Shockwaves Hard Radio side. So people will have to take the little extra to click on that to listen to it.
I know it's hard.
It's hard.
An extra little click or two, but it's, you know,
everything needs to be automated these days.
God,
so after we do this short intro here, we're going to repost the Jon Z interview that I did last week. Great phone interview with Jonny Z on this Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast.
Yeah, he's got his new book out, right?
He's got a great new book out. I actually haven't read the book yet, but I'm dying to read it. I'm so slow with books, dude. I'm so behind on books. Let's talk about spoiled generation. I'm into these audiobooks now.
Yeah, you know,
like the Ryan Slagle book. Well, you know, it's just I don't have the time at night to sit down and read.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
Driving so much, or I'm have it on my iPod if I'm going for a walk or a hike or whatever, doing something. I like to do something while I listen to stuff. Whereas when you read, you have to kind of. I'm one of these guys that when I read, I have to be focused. No outside noise, no TV or whatever. So
you need a lot of time just to sit down, knowing you have a couple hours. I mean, I'm like that too. I can't read like a chapter here. Okay, put it down. Read another chapter because you don't remember that stuff either if you do it that way. I'm with you. I like to maybe. I like doing books in like 2 sit downs, read like half of it one time, and then maybe finish it off after that. But with the audiobooks things, man, I'm going to be honest. I've never really given it like a really good shot.
It's you have to kind of really get into it because it's a book, so it's super slow. It's not like you're listening to a podcast interview or something like that. It's they're basically reading off the book. So if you're on a long trip or something like that,
I can see that. Yeah,
because I do a lot of long trips. Driving to L.A. and back, which I'm actually going to be driving to L.A. This coming week. But anyway, back to Jonny Z's book. For those that don't know, it is titled "Heavy Tales: The Metal, the Music, the Madness as Lived by Jon Zazula," and that'll be coming out October 29th officially on his website, jonzazula.com, and also on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. So I want to give a shout out to that. And like I said,
also, does everybody know who Jon Zazula is? That's the other thing. I mean, I guess if you don't know who he is,
they're going to find out when they hear the interview.
Yeah, true. But
if you don't know, you don't really know your shit.
I'll be honest with you. Yeah, exactly.
Also this week, we're going to throw up an archive episode, I believe on the Scorpions, right? That
yes,
I did,
correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think I did that back in January of 2009, which again was the original Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast when Roadrunner Records hosted the website. And of course, that has since Roadrunner did the changeover from Warner Brothers, a lot of those podcasts are down. So if you didn't download them back in the day, you're going to just have to wait whenever we post these archive episodes. So we're like, we said in the beginning, a lot of people love the archives. And this is a great one with, of course, I won't say original Scorpions drummer, but mainstay main lineup Scorpions drummer Herman Rarebell, who also wrote a lot of the lyrics to a lot of the hit songs with Scorpions. Great guy, Herman Rarebell, as well as John Sutherland and John Cornarins. The four of us, I believe, go through the entire, not just the Scorpions catalog, but kind of the history of Scorpions since he joined the band on the Taken by Force record. So we'll throw that up there. We want to keep the podcast pretty consistent. So I will be throwing up archive episodes here and there. And the reason I say that is people still keep asking about some of these archives, and they love when we go through the band catalog. So we'll be doing some more of that coming up. In fact, Martin Popov, he's going to be returning soon. We might do a real good one with him regarding the Rainbow Book coming up.
Well, yes, speaking of archive episodes, the other thing, too, that we will let our listeners know here is that we've got a brand new ShockwavesSkullSessions.com, ShockwavesRadio.com website coming up. Yeah, so we're going to have the archive episodes up there itself, too. There's going to be its own page. We're also going to have the T-Radio V episodes you've done. So everything that Bob's done, his whole history, all his videos, all his documentaries, there'll each be a page on there that, you can go on, you can click on, you can learn about it. You can order the DVDs from there, etc., all that stuff. So stay on the lookout for that. We got the Shockwaves Radio. We're hoping to get some really good guest DJs for that as well. And, just stay on the lookout for that. That's really going to be...
Yeah, dude, you just showed me the template. We're going over the template here of the new website. It looks fantastic. And that was something I want to do, like an all-inclusive thing. So a one-stop
one
zone.
Big hub. Yeah, exactly.
And this is going to be the main hub. We're still working on it, so it might take a few weeks before we finalize everything. But it will be ShockwavesSkullSessions.com. And like Matt said, we're going to have a lot of our archive episodes up there. Some of the old Shockwaves video casts that I did for YouTube, which are kind of hidden away on YouTube. I think they're still up there. I haven't gone to them in a while, but I know with Michael Schenker, Thin Lizzy, Anvil, Biff from Saxon. The old T-Radio V TV show that I used to do back in 2014 and 2013 as well, I believe. I did quite a few interviews, and those are no longer available, but we do have those archive episodes up, so we're going to post them on the site too, and just, again, make it kind of an all-inclusive website. And, of course, Shockwaves Radio, which we're still kind of putting together, and we're going to make it real cool. It'll be your all-in-one heavy metal website.
Absolutely. And, on Shockwaves Radio, it'll be cool because we could play a lot of music on there. Whereas, the podcast is it's all talk. Shockwaves Radio, we're going to have some shows on there where, me and Bob will just be fucking around, kind of playing some music, talking. We'll hopefully get some guests in the studio. And what's cool about it, as I was saying, it'll be more musically influenced. It won't be just the talk stuff. It'll be mostly playing songs and kind of DJing. And just because obviously the thing about the Shockwaves Radio, it's very underground rock and hard rock and metal based. So it's usually, we're basically showcasing bands that either maybe didn't get a lot of notoriety back in the day, that were kind of overlooked. As well as a lot of new music, too, that's coming out now these days. So it's, if you're looking for, listening to like the big four bands, we love them. We got some of that stuff on there, too. But if you really want to hear a lot of the underground stuff, a lot of overlooked stuff, Bob, I've learned so much about a lot of that, the new wave of British heavy metal, a lot of those classic metal bands from the 80s and so forth from L.A. I never would have heard of that stuff if it wasn't for you putting some of this stuff up on the radio station. So it's great. If you're looking for newer music that's classic music, it's definitely a great station for that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great mix of new and old on that, and doing real well. So, we're real excited about that. And I believe, a lot of people have been asking me, and this is something, again, I know nothing about. That's why I keep saying that's why it's great to have Matt here. I know nothing about all these technical things and the new things that are coming up. But everyone's talking about Patreon. When we're going to have a Patreon page, and I believe we're working on that as well.
We are. That'll be right around the holidays. Okay, next couple of months and stuff. It's one of those things. If you want to contribute to the podcast and the radio station, we'll have packages including CDs and DVDs and a T-shirt and so forth that you can contribute, and this is what you're going to get in return. So obviously that helps keep us going. It helps for us to pay bills instead of having to do ads in the middle of the podcast, which we were refusing to do or nothing like that. So yeah, I mean it's it's one of those things. Obviously, if you want to just be more part of the podcast and the radio station and so forth, you want to get a shirt, you want to get stickers. We're gonna have all that stuff in these packages.
We got some real cool packages. We're putting together stuff from like the Inside Metal DVDs I directed to the Banverse brand to a lot of the No Joke record stuff you put out to a lot of other stuff. Like I said, we're getting merchandise and other things. So we'll make some really interesting packages. But in the meantime, people asked about sending in donations. We still do have the PayPal, and the same deal goes there. If you send $20 or more to our PayPal address, we will give you at least $20 plus worth of great swag. So you can send it to our main address, email address, which is also the PayPal account, which is shockwaveSkullsessions@gmail.com. And look us up on PayPal, and once we get the donation, we'll send a package out to you right away. And a lot of people have been blown away with the packages we sent. They were really happy.
They've been happy, which is cool.
Everyone's been happy. We haven't got any complaints so far, so that's good. We want to give, if you're going to help us out, we want to give you guys something good in return. So that's the way we do it, man. That's the way we roll.
That's the way we roll. That's us.
I got to be hip with the lingo here.
You have to, man.
I can't be old school now that I'm 55 years old. I got to prove that I'm still hip with all the young chicks that are listening to us now. And we got a ton of young chicks that are listening to our podcast.
Really?
Did you know that, man?
Well, I didn't. I kind of wanted to give away the secret, but
I'm telling you.
All right, yeah.
So anyway, so we just wanted to do like a little preview before, and we'll throw this Jonny Z interview up for those that have been bitching about they weren't able to get it on Spotify or off this or off Spreaker. So here it is, the Jonny Z interview. Was there anything else you wanted to throw up?
No, I just wanted to say if you are a newer band and if you are interested in sending us your music for possible submission on Shockwaves Radio, go ahead and send an email. Send obviously an MP3 or two, or send a link to your Bandcamp or something to shockwavesrockradio@gmail.com. Obviously, we take it seriously. We're going to listen to as much of the stuff as we can because, like I said, we're really looking for a lot of the underground stuff, a lot of new music. Because I know these days it's hard, right? There's not a lot of formats as there were back in the day for a lot of these newer bands. The industry's changed so much. So we're really trying. I mean, obviously, everyone knows kind of how our musical format is, right? We're really based off of a lot of the classic metal, a lot of the 70s hard rock and metal, some of the hardcore and thrash stuff. So if it's in that in that vein, definitely go ahead and just send it. You never know. We might take a listen to it and really like it. We're one of those stations that we're not just going to play all the popular stuff. We really want to be sort of like a hub, not just with the radio station, but obviously with the podcast and everything, for a lot of the new musical audience, for a lot of younger kids and stuff. So but anyway, so I think that's pretty much all I got here. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let's get into this interview with Jonny Z. I'm going to be heading to L.A. We're going to probably hopefully check out Armored Saint here in the Bay Area, and I'll be down in L.A. Hopefully catch one of their shows with UFO and Armored Saint. Classic lineup. So I'll be in L.A. for the next week. But I'm going to try to get, we'll keep it consistent with some episodes. That's why we're throwing this one up there, as well as the Scorpions archive episode as a fill-in. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, hit us up, shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com. And with that said, man, let's get to this Jonny Z interview I did last week.
All right, let's do it.
Originally on the Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast. All right. It's been a while. It's been a long while, actually. Since the last Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast. This is podcast number 88, and it's a short one, just one interview, but one great interview with the master, Jon Zazula. That's right, Jonny Z from Megaforce Records just came out with a new book, actually coming out next month on October 29th, titled Heavy Tales: The Metal, the Music, the Madness, as lived by Jon Zazula. So definitely a book you want to check out. I actually haven't had the chance to read it yet, but I've heard many of these stories from Jonny Z himself, and I can guarantee you this will be one hell of a great read. So October 29th, you be sure to check it out. And I know that he's got it available online only at Amazon and jonzazula.com and other online book sites. So I believe you could pre-order it, and if you get it from his website, he will sign a copy to you as well. So we're going to get right into that interview. Just want to give you a little update on the latest Inside Metal movie called Bay Area Godfathers. We're in the editing stages now and plan to finish it up in about a month or so, but it'll likely be released in the beginning of the new year. But we will very likely do some big screenings here in the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as Los Angeles and maybe even Vegas. So I will keep you posted on that. You could always catch me on Facebook, Bob Nalbandian, Los Angeles. That's about the only real social media I use somewhat consistently. I do have a Twitter account as well. And the Inside Metal page does have a Facebook and Twitter account that you could follow as well. And don't forget about the Shockwave Skullsessions podcast. That's right, the sister podcast of the Shockwaves Hard Radio podcast has been revamped, and it's doing quite well. My partner, Matt Harnett, and I have relaunched the Shockwave Skull Sessions, and it is available at shockwaveskullsessions.com, as well as all your favorite podcast directories. And with that said, let's get right into this great interview with a true heavy metal icon, Mr. Jon Zazula, a.k.a. Jonny Z. It's great talking to you once again.
Yes, sir.
You got the new book coming out. Well, what's the date of release?
The official date is October 29th.
Now, I believe you said it's only going to be out via internet. Is that correct? It won't be out in bookstores?
That's correct. It's going to be out on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or jonzazula.com. Find copies.
Well, let's go way back to the beginning, man. Rock and Roll Heaven. I remember you back then. I had my fanzine, The Headbanger. And we here on the West Coast, I was in Los Angeles, Orange County actually at the time, and everybody knew of you and Rock and Roll Heaven. We were all avid tape traders. We did the fanzines, myself and of course Ron Quintana in San Francisco, John Stranansky, and then you had the East Coast guys, Kick-Ass Monthly, Bob Muldowney, rest in peace. So we were very familiar with you back then, and it's funny because hearing the stories of you back in those old days, it was like, you know, you were this burly biker metal fanatic. The image we got, or at least I got, was like this Peter Grant kind of character that was just this badass biker. But, you know, after talking to you, you're like the nicest dude. I would have never imagined.
Yeah, they used to call me Huggy Bear too, you know?
You know, we had like Brian Slagle, of course, that had Metal Blade, and Mike Varney that did Shrapnel, who are also uber metal fans, but they're like, this guy Jonny Z, he really is the real deal, a real metal guy, you know, biker dude. And we're like, whoa, that's awesome.
That's funny.
You know, you take a look at Brian Slagle, Mike Varney, yourself. Also, just like us, you guys started out of just avid metal fans, tape collectors, and record collectors. You know, Brian used to sell, I remember seeing Brian Slagle selling at the Roosevelt record swap meet, which was a big record swap meet back in the early 80s. And then he went over to Oz Records, and Mike Varney, of course, I think one of the biggest metal vinyl collectors around, still to this day. And you as well on the East Coast with Rock and Roll Heaven. You started at the record swap meets. And I don't think people realize that, you know, the independent metal labels, just like the fanzines, just like the independent radio stations, you guys were just metal fans that just wanted to do something for metal. Did you ever foresee, you know, Megaforce becoming this, you know, huge label, or was it just for the love of metal you started?
Bob, it was for the love of metal. I didn't have to think about where Megaforce was going. I knew Metallica were going to the moon. I didn't know how I was going to get them there, but I figured I'd do it 10 yards at a time if I couldn't throw a touchdown pass, you know? And everything I did, 10 yards at a time. And when you look at the discography at the back of the book and see how many records, great classic albums we put out in such a short period of time, sometimes 7 or 9 in a year, you know, who had time to think? We were just doing it to propel this metal movement. That's all it was to us. We didn't have time to think about the glory of it all.
Amazing. How, and I know before you started the label, you actually brought over, you were doing some shows. I know the first thing I remember you doing was the Raven. You brought over Raven, obviously, from England. And I believe you did, it was Raven, Anvil, and Riot, correct? You put on that show?
Well, the first show was Anvil by themselves.
Okay.
We brought them in from Canada. Then we brought in Raven from Newcastle. And then we put them together with Riot headlining. At the time, we wanted the Rods to be the band on the bill, but the Rods were not easy to get along with and work with at that time because of their management.
Right.
They had no idea what was going on with us. I think they were shielded from it. And we went on to promote great shows, and then we brought in Venom and had Metallica open for Venom.
Okay, that's right. I totally forgot about that, yeah.
And then we did other shows and other venues. We had Metallica open up a Twisted Sister. And then we had Metallica play headlining Metallica and Metallica with Anthrax supporting. We were all over the place, all over the Northeast area, promoting shows to get our bands heard.
So was that your first love, was to promote shows before you got into starting Megaforce Records, or did you always have in mind doing the label? I know Raven was your first release, the All for One, prior to...
release was Kill 'Em All.
Oh, it actually was. Okay, I thought... but didn't you sign Raven before you signed Metallica?
Same time.
Same time, okay.
You know, Raven were just friends. We became very close friends, Raven and I. But Metallica came out first, and then All for One. And then you have to look at this discography because I have it there so I can know.
Right. Well, of course, we remember after All for One came out, then, of course, Anthrax and Overkill, and that really got the ball rolling. Did you have, I know there were a lot of the European labels, we mentioned Raven, and Neat Records was a huge independent label out of England, for people that don't know, that really pioneered a lot of the new wave of British heavy metal bands with just singles mostly. I mean, Raven actually did 2 full-length albums, but initially they were just releasing 7-inch singles, which were a big thing in England back then. And that's kind of what turned us on to it. And then, of course, you had Music for Nations in the UK that I believe licensed the... now, did Music for Nations originally sign Metallica? Or did you license them to Music for Nations?
I licensed Metallica to Music for Nations so the band could have representation overseas. You know, if I didn't do that, I'd have to ship records to record stores myself from the United States. It was a very hard process. But Music for Nations were really good at what they did, and they really got it going real fast, too.
Yeah, back then, the independent labels, obviously, before you had the distribution deal with Atlantic, you were going through, I believe it was Important, right? Important distribution?
Well, Important record distributors, yes.
Right, that were just doing it nationally throughout the states, so you would have to license. Many of the labels, like I know Metal Blade and Mike Varney were licensed to Roadrunner, and other labels like yourself would have to license to Music for Nation for Europe. Talk about the relationship there with Europe, because I know, especially with bands like Metallica and Anthrax, they took off so much earlier in Europe than they did here in the States.
Well, Europe is much readier for this kind of music in those days. And remember, they had already Motorhead, and they had Bardis, and they had Rose Tattoo, and they had Angel Witch, and they had Iron Maiden, and they had Black Sabbath, and they had Rory Gallagher, Gary Moore, Thin Lizzy. They had a whole bunch of great stuff.
Sure.
And they knew what Rush was, and Europe really appreciates music. And they threw these festivals where hundreds of thousands of people would come, or 90,000 people, metalheads, would show up. Way ahead of their time was Europe and the UK. And there were venues for bands to play. Like Metallica's first gig was at the Marquee.
The Marquee, yeah.
Club in London. I was there. It was fantastic. What can I say? But these labels wanted to own the band. They didn't want me to license to them. So I had to watch my ass all the time. I was constantly dodging bullets and people trying to steal it away.
Now, was that coming from, basically just a fan as you were, a record collector, a metal fan? You had to learn the business end real quick.
And I wasn't that fast at it. I'm very naive. I thought when people were trying to help you, they were putting out their hand to help you, not put out their hand to stab you. and I had to deal with a lot of backstabbing and really survived some horrors.
I think we were all pretty naive back then, and we were just fans, as you said, and that was a way to learn about the business, is sometimes you had to get screwed over to really realize this is the way it is. Sad but true.
Well, you know what? I used to put a little something in every contract that seemed like so little a thing, but it allowed me to escape after a period of time without any problems. Either a performance clause or something. If they didn't hit it, I was gone. And everybody thought they hit it, but they never did.
Right.
I was able to maneuver myself through the world that way. Jonny Z's escape clause.
Well, that's good to have. Well, let's obviously talk about Kill 'Em All. When that album came out, that was, as far as metal releases, I think probably the biggest independent selling metal release prior to any band signing to a major. And still, I believe Metallica sold, 150,000 or close to 200,000. Back then, that's huge. I mean, even for a major label.
So Elektra picked them up.
Yeah, Elektra.
It wasn't that many. That's all a myth.
No, it wasn't. Okay.
No, I don't remember the numbers, but it was very huge.
Thinking of Ride the Lightning, when Ride the Lightning came out.
Ride the Lightning did an awful lot of business, but I had limits on me to how many I could sell before it went over to Elektra.
I gotcha.
So, but I sold it in 5 minutes. I mean, I had the first 75,000 units were sold by Megaforce.
Well, I know afterwards, you even Ride the Lightning still had the Megaforce imprint, the original pressings on Elektra.
Right. That was short-lived, too.
So let's talk about you obviously you signed Anthrax, Overkill, the label's building. And when did Atlantic Records come into the fold? Now, I know Anthrax actually you obviously went off to Island Records. Is that what attracted Atlantic to do a label distribution, I guess a P&D deal, they called that at the time, with Megaforce?
Yeah, what happened was that I had Metallica strike gold, Anthrax was striking gold, Raven looked like they were going to strike gold.
They should have.
And I had in my wings. And Atlantic felt like, you know what? Let's get Jonny Z. Let's tie him up and let's put out a bunch of Jonny Z records. And what happened was they were very good for me because they took it whether they wanted it or not. Except when they really were not happy, they let me know and it caused a rift. So, it was always better to please Atlantic than displease Atlantic.
Right.
But a love and hate relationship.
Now, did they put any pressure on you to, as far as marketing the band in a more commercial sense, or did you still have pretty much your creative freedom when it came to...
The thing was, when I didn't put out a thrash record, they gave me shit.
Oh, they wanted thrash.
They wanted my signature sound. And I turned that around with Ace Frehley.
Right, Frehley's Comet.
Right.
Which is pretty huge at the time. I remember that when that debut came out.
Just missed gold by 30,000 records. And,
you had quite a few, people tend to overlook. I remember Manowar, their second album, Into the Glory Ride, was a huge release. Exciter did the Violence and Force album.
Melissa by Merciful Fate.
Melissa, that's right.
Venom's first single in America was put out by Megaforce.
Yeah, TT Quick. And then, of course, Testament and King's X was another. That band was really destined to be huge. As you know, so many critics and artists alike, big name artists, loved King's X. And
but the average person didn't get it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a musical person, you didn't get it. You really have to love music to love King's X. They really didn't write commercial music. And that's okay with me. It never bothered me.
Right.
And we sold 200,000 units, of one album. So it was okay. They wanted me to go platinum. I mean, I had them on the AC/DC tour and everything. I had them #2 radio hit in the country, #1 MTV requested. But I couldn't put all the King's Horses and all the King's Men couldn't sell King's X records again,
Yeah, they did get a lot of MTV. I remember the Black Flag video and quite a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of bands out that like that through the history that were, great amongst, the other artists, but just never commercially sold. One artist I want to talk to you about, and I just recently saw the documentary on Johnny Winter, Down and Dirty. And I and it was funny because I completely forgot that you had signed Johnny Winter. And when I watched the movie, I saw the Megaforce logo, and I was like, damn, I forgot that's another one. People that aren't familiar with Johnny Winter, definitely check out that documentary.
I didn't sign Johnny Winter. I don't know who did. Is that the Megaforce who signed him? I don't know.
Right.
But I did Warren Haynes from the Allman Brothers.
That's right. That's another one, yeah.
The Disco Biscuits. 4 nights at the Fillmore, they sell out 3,000 seats each in Philly. You know what I mean?
Right.
12,000 seats they play to. The Disco Biscuits. I think they could have been the second biggest band in the world.
Absolutely.
Didn't want to be. They're too into being family people and everything. They just come out and play the shows they do for 3,000 people, playing in a place for 3 or 4 nights, and they go home.
What how did it branch into management? I know you got Crazed Management. I think that was at around the time after the Atlantic deal. I know you were working with bands like Ministry and I believe Testament you started managing at the time.
Crazed Management started to manage Metallica.
So you were the record label and the management company, obviously.
Which is a problem, as I said in the book, because when there's problems, who do you go to when you're the manager? You go to the record company.
Right.
When you want things done properly, you go to the manager. When you're the record company, and what did I do? I fought with myself. No money, you go to the record company. When I have no money, I got to go to me, and I got no money to begin with. Crazy. And then I managed Anthrax. I managed Raven. Mm-hmm. You know, I managed those 3 bands.
What did you prefer, being a label owner or a manager? Because as you say, it's a whole separate entity.
I like being the manager.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Less drama or more drama?
More fun.
Right.
I just love the creative stuff of sitting with a band and making it happen. Just like sitting with Scott Ian and Charlie for like years, 11 years, brainstorming. It was great. I enjoyed every second of it.
And you were one of the label guys that were really involved with the musicians, always in the studio with them, hanging out, partying with them, which was cool. That was the sense of the independent labels. It was more of a hands-on kind of relationship with the artists. Were you involved actually in any of the production or songwriting of any of the artists, or at least influencing them in any way as far as their songs were concerned?
The songs weren't good. I wouldn't let them on the record, and I fought with the bands. I knew enough about them and their music to make criticisms that they could appreciate or tell me to go fuck off with.
Right.
I had very little influence on Metallica, except I helped James get the tracks he needed down in the studio when things were getting weird. I had not much to do with Anthrax, his first album, but a lot to do with the others. But I wrote none of the music. The only thing I ever did as a goof was I wrote the lyrics and melody line to the song Medusa on Spreading the Disease.
Right.
Medusa?
Yeah, I remember that song, yeah. Of course.
Yeah. And so I may have given creative input, but I don't write songs. I don't play instruments. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's it.
Let's go back to when Metallica first came over to New Jersey and stayed with you. Obviously, Dave Mustaine was in the band then, and you got them rehearsing, and they started writing for the Kill 'Em All record with Dave. They had obviously previously put out demos that you were you had got and sold at your store. Obviously, the No Life Till Leather. So they already had a lot of the songs written, but how was that process with Dave? Were you pretty hands-on with the band, and did you see a lot of the tension between Dave and the other members there, where you felt that maybe this is
ever present? By the way, Bob, it was ever present,
right?
But it just had to do with excessive drinking, really.
Yeah,
Dave was really a guy, but he used to party a little too much, and as I say in the book, when he got on stage, though, he was perfection.
Absolutely.
He didn't fuck up. And he got off stage. He was back to being Dave. So you never knew what you were going to get. You bite your fingernails off saying, he can't possibly go on stage and play the right stuff tonight. But he did.
Yeah. Oh, I saw him many times in L.A. and he was always drinking. And but when he got on stage, you're absolutely right. He just tore it up. But it must have been a nightmare for you as a label to see. I mean, that's got to be the worst thing, to replace a band member in the middle of the recording, especially a key member like the guitarist Dave Mustaine, who was a big songwriter.
I just had faith that everything would work out fine. I don't know if I even sweated it. Oh. They Had a replacement for him right away. He's on his way over. He's going to be great. I stayed. I heard what it sounded like through the walls. I was listening. Sounded great. He learned the songs fast. God bless, man. There they go again. You know, that's a band that really adapts.
Absolutely. And they obviously did well with Kirk Hammett. Just like you said, it was like effortless. He came right in. It was like they almost knew. They didn't miss a step.
He came in. It was perfect. But, you know, who knew what would have happened with Mustaine, you know? But it had to happen at such an early stage, because if it happened later, it would have been devastating.
Yeah. And, of course, Megaforce Records still going strong. You got the Chuck Billy is doing some management out of... Is it still Craze management, or is it Megaforce management?
There's no management to straighten things out.
Okay.
Chuck Billy has his own management company now. He manages bands. He does all kinds of business dealings. He's a very interesting man these days, Mr. Billy. And we remain best of friends. We travel together. We do things together. We try to communicate as much as we can. And in May or June of 2018, I retired officially. So there's no more Craze management, except for the fact that Craze is the publishing company for my book.
Aha. Very cool. Let's go ahead.
Craze maintain its Craze management publishing now.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I read somewhere that Chuck was working with Megaforce, but I guess...
Look, I don't know. He was working with a group called Breaking Bands. Breaking Bands was Maria, Chuck, and I. Together, we managed Exodus. We managed Soil Work.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's right.
And that was a very good company. The only thing is, it was too insane.
Right.
Too insane, and the three of us are just too powerful. We just... too much for each other.
Well, Johnny, always a pleasure, my friend, and it was great meeting you, finally meeting you after all these years at the Metallica Rasputin Record Store Day and at their party they had at El Cerrito afterwards, and long time coming, man. I've known you for well over 35 years, knew of you at least, and once again, the book, Heavy Tales, the Metal, the Music, the Madness, as lived by Jon Zazula. And that is out once again on
October 29th.
October 29th on Crazed Publishing, correct?
Yeah, Crazed Management Publishing.
Right on, Johnny. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Pleasure here, man. You take care of yourself, Bob.
You too. I can't wait to read the book.
Oh, watch out. It's dirty.
I bet it is. I love it. We'll be in touch, man. You have my number. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Anytime you want, man.
You got it. Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. Subscribe and listen to all episodes by going to our pages on iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, and more. You can listen to all other episodes and access up-to-date information and news on the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast by going to our website at www.shockwaveskullsessions.com. Email all comments, questions, and suggestions to shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com.